I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like 2025 rail fanning is not going to be as good as past years. The reason I say this is because of just how few desirable trains I've seen in the last 2 months. That's not to say I didn't see any desirable trains over the last 2 months, and the ones I did see were pretty good if I do say so myself. Enough lollygagging, let's get right into this month's slightly above average rail fanning video. We'll start things off strong on Wednesday, January 8th, when I got a text from a friend alerting me to the fact that a Santa Fe Warbonnet was on the HKCK TPL and was already in Cassidy. If you didn't know already, I absolutely adore these locomotives, so I couldn't pass up the opportunity to see another one. So I headed trackside in the blistering cold to catch it. I arrived with about 15 minutes to spare before that glorious Dash 9 Quartet came into town with the precious ATSF Warbonnet 629 trailing third. As I was trying to leave, the ZPHX WSP showed up. I didn't get trackside for about a week and a half after that, but on Sunday, January 19th, I discovered a sweet S-curve near Stelter, Kansas that I wanted to try to see some trains at sunset. I headed out late in the afternoon, only to immediately miss an intermodal that passed just as I was pulling up. It didn't take long for my next train to appear, that being the Z Stowe WSP heading east with a decent consist including an SD70 Ace and an H1-9. Right behind that train was the ZLAC WSP with a Ferromex SD70 Ace trailer. Next was the ZWSP SBD heading west in some good golden light. My final train will be LCAN 211 zipping around the curve just seconds after the tail end of the Z cleared. Oh, what I'd give for a perfect meet to have happened right in front of me. The great Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad has screwed me over yet again. I've been here for the last hour, and my main goal is to see a train with the sunset behind it, and as you can see, I've seen 4 trains, technically 5, since one came by I was pulling up, and not a single one of them came by with the sunset behind it. See, this is why I hate rail fading sometimes. Anyways, 2025 has been a terrible year so far, and this is just adding on to it. This is insult to injury. Guess I'll come back and try next week. And I did, except I didn't go into the next week. I just went later that week on Friday, January 24th. A little over a week later, on February 1st, I met up with a few of my friends including Jello de Meow, Kansas Railfan, The Train Whisperer, and CXMX, as we had planned to visit the Wichita Toy Train Show and then head to Belle Plaine for some BNSF action. We saw a lot of trains in Belle Plaine, so here's a speed run of them. SLBT LPC with a Dash 9 Duo and some rear DPUs. ZWSB PHX with an H1-9 trailing lap. H Galbar with an NS AC44 C6M Duo on the head end and his Ace is the rear DPU. A meet between the X Hair CVH and the SLPC LBT. H Bargal with a Dash 9 trail fail. H AMS kick with BNSF 5653, the fork unit leading. Yeah, that's an inside joke between some friends and I, and you won't understand, so don't bother asking. QLAC LPC with the greatest lash up I've ever seen. ZWSB SVD booking it west with a burned out ditch light. G Boss KML with the Santa Fe Heritage Hopper. H bell kick with a GEVO duo. HKCK AMS with a GEVO trio in a 2x1 configuration. H bar gal with another -9 liter. And finally, ZWSP NBY with an H2 GEVO leader. A week later, I went to Rose Hill to see what I could catch. My first train was a loaded grain train headed for Hereford, Texas, with some based drone shots at a really good sunset. The only other trains I saw were an eastbound Z and a westbound V. A little under a week later, on February 14th, I checked a traffic camera to find UP 1989, the Rio Grande Heritage Unit, the only one I hadn't seen, leading the MHNPX. So I decided to go to Pratt to see it because why not? When I arrived in Pratt, the eastbound ISIG-4 was getting a crew change with a solo AC-44 leading. This train also had mid DPUs. I decided to head east after that train cleared to try to run into the HNPX, passing by Scowler's Pratt complex on the way east. More on that later. I also saw this windmill going hyperspeed. I settled at a crossing a little ways east of Scowler since a westbound was lined, and sure enough, it was the HNPX. As soon as the head end cleared, I hopped back on the highway so that I could beat it to Scowler and get open shots of the facility. In the facility, SCOX 5006, an SD18M, and UP LMS 50 with an SD70M leader were doing their usual activities. 5006 was doing nothing, and LMS 50 was loading up with grain. I then headed back to the Pratt yard to catch HMPX one more time, leaving the yard for points west. 2 days later, on the 16th, I decided to head to Abilene to see what I could catch. I decided to stop at Newton on the way there to see what I could find in the power shops, and was delighted to find BNSF 1446 paired up with BNSF 1648, Kansas's resident Santa Fe Bluebonnet ST40-2. I also found the H New Kick power set with a wonderful surprise, that being BNSF 9431, an executive SD70 Mac in the middle of the power set. This caught me by complete surprise and as such was a real treat. In Abilene, I found BNSF's Local 20 tied down in the BNSF yard with BNSF 1693, a Burlington Northern Cascade Green SD40-2 trailing, and BNSF 1471 leading. The Abilene and Smoky Valley had some power out too, including number 4, their main power, which is an Alco S1, and HRMX 9120, a Mount Rainier Scenic GP10 painted in a paint scheme inspired by
the Milwaukee Road.
A week later, on Sunday, February 23rd, I woke up to word that CN8952, the Grand Trunk Heritage Unit, was on the ex-BVA Eddy tied down in Wellington. Since they weren't planned to leave until that evening, I decided to just head down to Wellington to see it sitting, since I would rather have seen it sitting in daylight than moving at night. I arrived at the Wellington yard to find BNSF's Northern Pacific Heritage Hopper in a cut of grain hoppers sitting right alongside the road. I then found the desired corn mash train with the Grand Trunk Heritage Unit sitting in a widely open spot, and I flew my drone to see it better. I then got jump scared by a grain train. As I was leaving town, I noticed a tied down track geometry train, so I pulled over and flew my drone to get some quick videos of this one. To wrap up the month on the 28th, I heard that an SD70M was allegedly leading the UP WTFW, so I wanted to go out and catch this in Local 9 since 1471 and 1693 followed me down from Abilene. I got WTFW first, and... So, yeah, don't trust your friends. Nah, that was just a joke. Well, then I got Local 9 to make up for it, and the guy behind me in his car was blasting Mexican music, so that was pretty amusing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more mediocre train content from all over Kansas. See you next time.